Today is March the 3rd, 2011, and yesterday Apple had its iPad 2 event. I wanted to get this video out yesterday, but the whole real life thing set in with college and everything, so this video didn't get put out as soon as I'd like to, but hopefully you guys are still interested enough to at least sit through this whole thing. So in case you didn't know, the iPad 2 is the successor to the iPad 1. Every year Apple does release these new products, and really this has been less than a year because I believe the iPad came out in April of 2010 and it's now March of 2011, so that's just shy of a year. So this video is going to be a run through of what actually happened. If you saw my previous video, which was my Apple event expectations and hopes, I was actually pretty accurate in the things I expected to see. So however, I wasn't dead on. So this video is going to be what we did see. So the first thing I want to note is that we did see Steve Jobs at the keynote, and he wasn't really just there. He was, he hosted it. It was not Tim Cook. We didn't even see Tim Cook like I predicted. So that was always great to see. I mean, with the recent news of his health and everything, it's just nice to see him, that he's still on his feet. So he is looking good. I mean, he's not looking horrible. He had a sense of humor there. So he's obviously keeping happy, which is a good thing. So now moving on, just like every other Apple keynote, they started off with some updates. So the first thing they really talked about was the iBooks they sold. They've bypassed, or not bypassed, but passed 100 million iBooks being downloaded. And so this is great news. Just around my house, and I think all over the United States, the bookstore Borders just filed for bankruptcy, so they're closing like 200,000 stores, something like that. So this is probably one of the reasons, because Apple is just, with their iPad, with all the market share they have, they're really just taking iBook or ebook market shares. So this really, it makes sense. And then he also went to talk about the retail stores, how they have one in Chicago now, and it's moments like these that they're built for, and just everything like that. He stressed that, the whole Apple Store thing, which he usually does. And now, like, pretty much the last main update they had was that they have paid app developers from the App Store total $2 billion. And this is insane. You have the 65,000 apps that are like the iPad apps, plus like probably the hundreds of thousands by now of apps for the iPhone and iPod Touch. So all these developers, the grand total that Apple has paid them is $2 billion, and that's just ridiculous. I'm sure no other company is even close to this. And Steve Jobs, he noted that, saying that 2011 is probably going to be the year of the copycats, and so that's part of his sense of humor still coming in there. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So they said that 2010 was the year of the iPad, and they played this whole video, and it was probably about 5 minutes long about how it helps with education, how kids love it, how everyone loves it, and it really is true. I personally don't have an iPad, but I would love to get one, especially an iPad 2. But anyway, back to this. In 2010, in the 9 months from April until December, they sold 15 million. And earlier in the keynote, they said that they sold their 100 millionth iPhone. So, you take the, let's see, what is that, like the 4th, 5th year that the iPhone's been out, and they just sold 100 million. But in 9 months, they sold 15 million iPads. So that really puts it into perspective that how popular this is. And he also went on to stress that the 15 million is more than all the other tablets, like the I don't know, they don't even know the names of the other tablets, like the Zoom and Playbook aren't even out yet, but the Galaxy Tab, stuff like that. This is more than all those combined Apple sold in just 9 months. So that really does put it into perspective at how many of these they have sold and how much people really do love them. And the pricing of the iPad, they only have one model right now that's over $799, and a lot of them just start out there and they have very minimalistic a number of apps. So you are getting a very good bargain when you go with the iPad. So that was basically what they stressed in terms of the update portion. So now moving on into the actual product release, obviously we saw an iPad 2. Pretty much the things of note here is that it now has a new processor, just like I predicted, the A5, which is dual core. It's going to be awesome, especially for the apps that I'll talk about later that they came out with. They also upgraded the graphics a lot. They have 9 times the graphics performance, and so that really will help in terms of video games, the new video editing applications, pretty much anything that involves even remotely high quality graphics. This will just eat through everything. Now moving on, they also added 2 video cameras. Now there's one on the front and one on the back. They didn't say whether they were high definition or not, which kind of makes me wonder, but I assume that it's going to be like the iPhone, where the back is high definition and the front is VGA, probably 640 by 480, just some native standard definition resolution. But I would love to see if both of them are high definition. That would be great. So moving on, they also added the gyroscope, which is, if you have it, you could tilt it with the games, not just, this way, but you can also tilt it towards you in a way. So it has like the PlayStation 3 controller's 6-axis movement. That's pretty much what the gyroscope is. They have also made the iPad 2 much thinner. It's 33% slimmer, so it's now thinner than the iPhone 4. And it's, the iPhone is probably like this big, the iPad's like this, and it's thinner. It's probably like that thin. So when you put that into perspective, that's just insane. And they've also made it, I believe, 15% lighter. That's without the 3G. They did say up to 15% thinner, which is, without all the 3G stuff in there. So the 3G might be maybe 10% lighter, but either way, it's still an improvement. And from noting from other iPhone releases, even once you get down to something that's that thin, like the MacBook Air, even they said right in the keynote, 1/10 of a pound really does make a huge difference. So you get down to where they've put it from 1.5 pounds to 1.3 pounds, and that 2/10 of a pound really does make a difference, especially when it's thinner too. So you have the thinner and lighter. It just makes it, it feels completely different. And like they did say, it is a complete redesign. It's kind of like from the iPhone 3GS to the iPhone 4, how it went from curves to flat. It kind of went like the other way around. The iPad had like, straight up and down sides, but now they're just so thin it almost just looks like they kind of do something like that. So moving on, the next thing they really talked about after the spec bumps were the accessories. They do have HDMI out now, so you have your iPad, you have an HDMI, you can plug in a 30-pin connector to charge it while you're outputting the video, as well as the video feed. So you can charge it while you're doing your presentation or whatever. They made a really great point to this, that teachers can use it, and they can plug in an iPad to a TV, and it goes full 1080p out, so it does great video. It also is sensitive to the rotation, so if I plug it in and have it regular, and I flip it on the screen, you'll see it flip as well. So that's awesome that Apple really listened to their customers, that a lot of people wanted HDMI out, and they got it. The next thing, probably one of the bigger things of the whole keynote, is that those magnetic cases. I think they were called smart cases, something like that. I'm not sure exactly what they were called, but they're so cool. I mean, they are kind of pricey, and I'll get into that in a minute, but just the concept of them is really cool. There's back in the day when I had my PSP, they had something sort of like this, but you had to screw it into the top, like with physical screws, like thumb screws, and then it folded down over the screen. This is kind of like that, but it's all magnets. There's no tools at all. So that the aluminum, I don't know if aluminum's magnetic. I'm not sure what they use for the magnets. Maybe it is. I don't know. But it just clips right on. They show a video, and the iPad here, it just you hear the click. So the magnets, like, they make great contact with it. You're not just gonna pull them off very easy. It is a great connection with the magnets. And it's almost kind of like a refrigerator, like the iPad being a refrigerator, and the magnet just kind of like clips down. And as soon as you even just start to peel like the case away from the iPad, your iPad wakes up from sleep. That is just phenomenal. I'm not sure even how they did that, but it's just great Apple stuff like that. I never expected to see a case like this. It also acts as a stand for FaceTime and for typing, so you have like the little like 30-degree angle, but then you also have like a pretty close to straight up angle for watching videos and for doing FaceTime calls. So these cases, they have like these, I'm not exactly sure the material for the $39 version, but for $40 you can get, I believe, up to 5 different colors, and they're just like the standard case. But you also have the higher quality ones, which are leather. Those run you $69, so $70 for like a really nice quality leather case. That is getting kind of pricey just for a case. He said in the keynote that people are going to be having 3 or 4 of these, and they're going to be switching them out every day for whatever color they're in the mood for. When you take into account that they're $40 a piece, even on the low end model, that's 4 cases, $120. So that does get pretty pricey just for cases. But they also do have a cleaning cloth that makes sure your screen stays clean. So that's awesome. Apple really did a great job with these cases. If I ever get an iPad 2, I would probably definitely look into getting one of these, but they are kind of expensive, so I won't be buying a lot if I do get an iPad 2, which I hope so. Now moving on to the beefier portion of the whole conference was the software. They really got into iOS 4.3, not iOS 4 or not iOS 5 yet. That's for WWDC, sort of like I predicted in my video. That's going to be in the summer with the iPhone 5. And so the first thing they really talked about was AirPlay. Now, if you don't know what AirPlay is, basically when you play a video on your iPad, or I think music too, your iPad will, if you're connected to an internet like your Wi-Fi, it'll scan your network and see if it finds an Apple TV. And if it does, you can hit a button, no configuration, your video will be streamed from your iPad to your TV. So you walk into your living room, you hit a button, and you're watching it from your iPad but on your TV wirelessly. It's awesome. And that was before. Now they've updated it to where, I believe in the keynote they said that it could play on your Mac as well. So you can stream it to all these different devices in your house. So if you have a very Apple-oriented house, which would be a dream for me, I'm the only Apple user, like Mac user in my family, on a desktop, so I have not too many options here. But if you do have an Apple-oriented house, this is great. You could just walk in your living room and just put a movie on your high-definition TV. That'd be fantastic. So, or now on your computer. They also introduced Photo Booth, which is this application. Alright, so let's take a look at Photo Booth on the Mac. So we'll go into Applications, and we'll come down to Photo Booth. So now this is built right into the iPad now. And so basically, if you don't know what Photo Booth is it allows you to take pictures of yourself via a webcam, or in Apple's case, the iSight, or probably now what's going to be called the FaceTime camera. So I'll go ahead and I'll just take a snapshot of me right here. As you can see, it counts down. Very amazing. That's a great picture. Not really. But anyway, so the main part I'm trying to get at with this video and the dual core processor is this. I bet if you threw this right here, like this whole 9 different transitions, if you threw that all together like on one screen at one time, all real live, everything, I'm sure that it'd probably look like glitching like that sort of. I mean, to be able to handle something like this on a tablet in real time, like each one of these is like a separate video feed applying that effect, it just, that takes some processing power, and for a tablet to have that, it's phenomenal. But I don't think that the Photo Booth version is going to have, stuff like this. This is what it really has. It has like a combination of what's here and what's here. It has I don't think it has this one. I think it obviously has the normal, but it has the thermal, and then it has some of these. For example, it has twirl. So you could drag the effect around to get like a... There you go. So yeah, you can move the effect around. Just so you can do this on the iPad as well. You can just touch it, and wherever you move your finger, that's where the effect goes, sort of like that. So this is a great application to have. Anyway, so but yeah, to be able to handle all this stuff in real time, I bet if you threw this at any of the tablets out there right now, it would just crumble. It would look like crap. You wouldn't be able to get the high quality pictures, and from the iPad, you'll be able to send these just right out. All you'll have to do is hit the camera button, and then you just go ahead. You can share on Facebook, you can share on Twitter, upload, probably add to your iTunes library. So next time you plug in your iPad, it'll just sync. So the camera really does add a lot of functionality, and I'm sure with Photo Booth you'll be able to use the rear-facing camera as well. So you have the front, which you could use for yourself, but also the back. So it might be kind of awkward to hold up a tablet like this. I've always said that, but if you want to take a picture of a group of friends and apply these weird transitions, or you could potentially have some pretty cool uses. So that's a Photo Booth on the Mac, and that's sort of a look at Photo Booth for the iPad. Now, kind of similar to Photo Booth, they have FaceTime, which everyone knows what FaceTime is by now. It's kind of like the modern day Jetsons sort of thing, where you pull your phone out of your pocket and you can see someone that's miles and miles away. Very cool. It's coming to the iPad March 11th, so it's going to be very cool. The bigger screen makes for a much better video conference. You can really see people's expressions and everything. It makes it look a lot more proper, I guess, on the bigger screen than the iPhone screen. So now after that, they showed off iMovie, and this I gotta say looks amazing. On the iPhone, iMovie really just it works, but it's not convenient. I mean, so with a screen that small, you really have to strain your eyes, and if your workspace is just so tight, it just doesn't make for the great video editing experience. However, on the iPad, I can say that it's different because just watching the keynote, it looked so fluid to use. I mean, you have your video bin where you just have all your clips that I have, you can just scroll right through them. It has a precision editor where you can drag your file or the video into the timeline, and then you could do a pinch, and you can really get down frame by frame by frame, and so you could really do some in-depth editing. Not only that, you can import music from your iPod or your iPad's library right into your iPad or your iMovie, so you can just have a track playing over your film, so, which is awesome. So there's just these awesome features that it has, and it's only $5. The app comes out day 1 of iPad 2, which is March 11th again, and that is $5 to be able to edit. And they even made Steve Jobs said this is not a toy. You could really do some nice transitions, nice effects. This is really like a full-fledged video editor. I mean, the iPad, when it first came out, it was kind of like, people thought it was just like a big iPod Touch. It's just kind of like a, it's more fun than it is, work or anything. But now it's really fun and work. It's like having fun working on the iPad now with all these different applications that are coming out. And next up, GarageBand. I'll talk about that as well. So these applications really let you really use those 2 cores, and you can do great things on the iPad now. It really is more of a computer than an oversized iPod. So the tablet, it really is more of a PC now. So that's one of the main things I wanted to stress here. So now moving on to GarageBand, this is where having that dual core processor really comes in handy, because the GarageBand supports 8 tracks. So when you like even said in the keynote, Steve Jobs said, back, I think it was Steve Jobs. It might have been the other guy, I forget his name, but he said that back when the Beatles were recording, they had like 4 tracks, and the thing took up like a whole entire room. So now they said that the iPad you can support 8 audio tracks, and it's like this little thing that you're holding in your hands. It really is insane. But it does support 8 tracks. A new feature they have now is smart instruments, where if you're playing a guitar and you've never played a note of music in your life, you can get really great sounding notes, and it does chords for you. You can bend the strings. I mean, it really does make someone that's really music illiterate, doesn't understand what a B is, what a C is. It makes them play great notes with just a tap of their finger. Now, it's kind of cheating. However, if you don't know anything about music, it really is just like they said right in the keynote. I keep taking stuff from keynotes because they say it so well. But it's really just music with training wheels on, and then once you really get what notes sound good together, what works, what doesn't, you can take the training wheels off and you can just play the guitar normally. You can, like I said, you can bend the strings. You can play bad notes on this thing too. So you really do. This really is great for younger kids to really learn how to play music. So I can't even imagine what we're going to see with this. You can record something. You have the drums you can play on with your fingers. You can do a lot of cool stuff, and you can record each and every one of these. And as you keep recording, it just automatically adds them. So when you record 8 things, you can play the drum part, add it, trim it. Play the guitar part, add it, trim it. Play a bass part, add it, trim it. And you can make a whole band by yourself right on your iPad. And the processor that it has, this dual-core A5, there is no slowdown at all. It is so smooth. I can't even imagine like when it exports, like to save it, to send it to people. It's just so fluid. It's stuff that my old Windows PC could not do. Not nowhere near as smooth as the iPad does it now. So it really is crazy to think about. And once again, this is just going to be $5. So I mean, even if you get a great video editor on the go and a great audio editor on the go, it's like a sound mixer and everything, you're paying $10 for 2 great, amazing applications. And this is where Apple just excels past every other tablet maker, while the iPad 2 is already ahead of all these other tablets, and it's not even out yet. Once people really get their hands on this and tap into the dual core, they could probably multi-thread their applications, and things are just gonna fly. So that's pretty much all they really did in the Apple keynote. They showed one last video at the end. Steve Jobs didn't really mention anything about his health, which he shouldn't anyway. But that's pretty much the iPad 2 in a nutshell. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope it was informative to you. Let me know what you think about the iPad 2. Personally, I would love to get it, but I'm a broke college kid and there's no way I could afford it. But I would absolutely love to have an iPad. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions, I'm at CPUKid on Twitter. Go ahead and check out iTechCity on Twitter as well, which is at iTechCity, and itechcity.org. So this video will be posted there. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and go to iTechCity, register, post on the forums, get into a lot of great discussions there. And that's pretty much all I have, so thanks for watching.